Have you ever noticed how most adults greet each other? Usually a little handshake, their name, and then a question. So what do you do? I love answering that question. When I tell people I'm a student pastor and I work at a church of teenagers, I usually get one of two responses. One being, "Oh, cool. Yeah, I've been thinking I should get back to church. That's cool." That response is always interesting because sometimes people then watch their language, what they say, and kind of what they do around me. It's kind of humorous. The other response is usually, "Wow, you work with teenagers. You're crazy." Some adults like myself see teenagers as amazing, funny, smart, full of potential, while others may see teenagers as lazy, disrespectful, immature, maybe even scary. You may hear that and feel frustrated and even angry that some adults put you into those categories. Honestly, I think it's annoying and I'd be a little bit angry about it too. It's not fair that grown-ups who underestimate and assume things about you get away with doing oftentimes much worse things. So what do? Do you just stay mad? Just give up trying to be good if everyone's going to assume you're bad? No, I don't think so. Stick with me because I think there's an answer that will help us when it comes to being underestimated. All right, are you watching me right now? Wave in the comments or say, "Hey, I'm here." If you do, I'll put you in a drawing to win a $50 gift card. You have to be a student and you have to comment with a wave or an "I'm here." Back to the message. Paul and Timothy worked together to spread the message of Jesus after his death and resurrection. Because Paul was older and wiser, he wrote these letters to his young friend Timothy. Timothy was experiencing some of the same judgments because of his younger age. What I love about this letter is Paul didn't just tell Timothy to get over it. Paul acknowledged that people around him were acting poorly and teaching things that weren't true. Paul challenged Timothy to stay focused on what was true. Paul wanted Timothy to choose a different way. And here's what Paul told Timothy as we read it in the Bible in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 20. "Timothy, guard what has been entrusted to your care. Turn away from godless chatter and the opposing ideas of what is falsely called knowledge." Listen, you can't control how other people behave. You can't control what other people say or the way they treat you. But you can control yourself. You can control the way you respond. And that's exactly what Paul is encouraging Timothy to do here. See, Paul encouraged Timothy to worry about himself, to focus on his own actions. Now, Paul knew distractions were going to be there. And the same is true for us. There's always something that's going to pull our attention away from where God wants us to be. Paul made a point to tell Timothy to turn away from the things that pulled him towards the negative. And that's what we need to do as well. We can choose to not underestimate our actions, but instead believe they have weight and they have meaning. I think Paul had the same idea of teenagers as I do. You're capable of much more than most people give you credit for. You can use your actions in a way that reflects the maturity, intelligence, and the character that God has given you. Remember the verse that I shared last week, 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12? It said, "Don't let anyone look down on you because you were young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity." Paul reminded Timothy to not let anyone look down on him because of his age, and more importantly, encourage him to be an example to everyone. We may not be able to choose what others think about us, but we can choose to focus on our own actions and use them to set an example for others. Never underestimate your actions. Own your actions and work toward being an example to everyone around you. 1, think about your past actions, even just this past week. Have I been disrespectful to an adult in my life? Or was there a situation where I was selfish and didn't care about how I affected others around me? When you identify an action that you know wasn't the most honoring, ask God to forgive you and help you change your way going on. Second thing is, don't underestimate your future actions. You can choose how you act and respond in a way that shows your actions have great meaning. Don't underestimate your actions. Rather, become a great example. Love you guys. Miss your faces.